This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Hi, welcome to episode 248 of the CineSnob Podcast. I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
Cody, I mentioned this to you a little bit last week after we reviewed Weird, the Ali Yankovic story.
Mm-hmm.
Remember you and I talking about how it had weird fits and starts?
Yeah, weird fade outs of scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I watched on Roku, the Roku channel, and realized, oh yeah, we're dumb. This is a TV movie, essentially made for commercial breaks. So
now
I want to apologize for my assholishness. Go ahead.
To be fair, this is the first time I think anyone has watched anything on the Roku channel. So the ad breaks, I could possibly know.
I know, right? I didn't think about it until that very moment, like the first commercial started. Like, oh shit, this was a TV movie. Like, I mean, I don't know the last time I watched a TV movie that wasn't HBO. But there has to have been something, like, I remember the old Ewok movies. You're way too young for that, but I think they're on Disney Plus now, which came after the original Star Wars films. But you watch those now, and there's weird, dramatic fade outs.
Yeah, and
that's what we had here. So, my apologies for not recognizing that we were watching a TV movie. But by the way, I've never seen so much promotion. That has to be the first Roku thing that's ever been promoted ever. Because Weird Al Yankovic and Daniel Radcliffe were everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And then do you have a Roku TV, or did you just download the app? Or would you? I mean, we watched the screener.
We watched the screener, but I do have a Roku TV somewhere.
Yeah, it's all over somewhere. I forget you have like 5 TVs you don't use.
I have a lot of TVs, yeah.
Because you're an insane person. Real Cody?
I think you're freezing a little bit here.
Okay. Well, anyway, we'll see if that comes through. Is a problem here, but anyway, like I was saying, that the Roku app that I use for the remote control at times, has a little accordion in the corner, under it's devices, settings, and then in the corner is just an accordion that says weird.
That's cool.
It's a very interesting promotion. So anyway, how you doing there? I noticed. I just want to mention your Walmart hat, Cody.
Oh, you noticed?
I did. You typically, if anybody notices your hats during the show, this is sort of a takeoff on what was the show, the movie Mr. America. Was where the joke came from, with Greg Turkington wearing different promotional movie hats. And if you follow On Cinema,
it's probably been an On Cinema thing before that, but yeah.
But yeah, that's where we became familiar with it, and you kind of took it and ran, wearing old promotional hats. But today you're just wearing a straight up Walmart hat.
Yeah.
What's the deal?
Yeah, so I mean the movie hats thing I think I just find very, very funny. And
it is funny.
And I think one thing that you and I have in common is that we really like marketing merchandise from the most random possible movies.
Right.
So I like to collect that stuff. But yeah, no, I was at a UTSA tailgate this weekend, and it was sponsored by Walmart, and there was a booth of Walmart swag, and they had 2 different styles of hats. So I have a second Walmart hat in slightly different colors.
There's one in your back pocket still. I do like that it's just a straight up Walmart hat. It's not like I've been to plenty of minor league ball games or whatever where it's kind of a crappy hat with the team logo on it and then a big logo on the side of whatever the vendor is. That one's just, they're like, fuck it, we got Walmart hats. Go pass them out.
Exactly. No UTSA with Walmart brand integration, just straight up Walmart. The other one, I was just going to say, the other one has a price tag on it, and it's like an $8 hat.
Wait, where do you buy a Walmart? Can you buy a Walmart hat?
I think so.
I have seen making the rounds on Twitter that at Costco, which I'm not a member of, we do Sam's Club because it's a little closer to the house. But at Costco, you can now buy the Kirkland signature,
like a sweater
brand. Yeah, and it looks kind of rad. I want to go get one, but I gotta find someone with a Costco membership to let me in. So
I got one, but too
well,
bad.
Sorry. If we were just down in San Antonio, I should have hit you up and we could have made a Costco trip.
got you a Kirkland
I did.
sweater.
I want to tell you something. I did do that once years ago, because there was a collectible, a toy that I was collecting. It was Transformers. That it was exclusively to Costco, and this is how long ago this was. I posted an ad on Craigslist. Wow. Asking if anybody could that I could go into Costco with anyone, and some guy did. Some guy was like, "Hey," and I met him at Costco, and I went in and bought my stupid Transformer, and then
did you like tip him or?
No, he was like, "Hey," it was just a favor. He was going anyway. He's like, "Yeah, come on in," because you could take one guest in, I guess, and
wow,
it was that's the only. I never did anything nefarious on Craigslist. But I did hit up some random to go.
That might be the one story like that ended the way.
And
I'm
alive. Yeah, I'm alive. No one's been murdered.
Yeah.
There's no like drug deal happening. Yeah, it was probably about 15 years ago, if I had to guess.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Did the what man-seeking toys section?
Yeah. M4T male for Transformers, but the T means something else on Craigslist. At least in the parlance of that. I guess that's gone, right? You can't do that anymore? I don't know. I haven't used Craigslist in forever. Like, I don't think there's personals.
Solicit? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think they shut that down. Like the sex ads.
Yeah.
Years ago. I don't know. I just use Facebook Marketplace for my, my transactions. Yeah. I don't know how I got to talking about that. Oh yeah, your hat. Yeah, it's a good hat. I got a Dave hat around here somewhere that I think you steered me toward.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where it's at. It's in here somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you don't have a. Did you get one? Did you get an Astros World Series hat?
Yeah, it just hasn't shipped yet, but it'll be here
Really?
soon. Yeah, they're on a super back order thing. Like I got like 2 shirts, 2 hats, and a hoodie, and it all has not arrived yet. So
how did it feel? I see my Houston Astros friends saying they're vindicated for 2017. I mean, does it really vindicate 2017?
No, it doesn't, but like it helps get the stink off. Like I think, and that's the most important thing for me. Like, you know, my whole thing was like it's hard to like defend or excuse, but if they can win a clean one as soon as possible, it would help. And so for me, it's just like and like as they were about to close out, I don't know if you saw any like articles from national writers, but a lot of them wrote articles like, let's just like let it go. This team is really good, like separate from all that stuff, and only a handful of players are still there, and everyone else who started it is gone. So like, just let it go. So.
Yeah, I mean,
but vindicated, no, not really.
Yeah, I forgot it was that. Was it 2017? Was it that long ago? 26. Yeah. Oh shit, I forgot it was that long ago. I thought it was.
Well, I think it was the 2016-17 season or something like that.
So it's 2017. Wait, no. Baseball doesn't cross seasons like that.
That's right. Yeah, it would have been 2016 then. Yeah.
I feel like it was way sooner.
Maybe not. Maybe it was 2017. I should know this.
Yeah, you really should. And
my gut says 2017. Let me look it up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2017.
Yeah, it's 2017.
Okay.
5 years ago.
All right. I'm surprised you didn't just run to Academy. Do they not sell them at
I was
San
in New
Antonio
York.
Academies? Oh, that's right. That's
when
right.
it happened, yeah. So and now I wanted like more merch than they would even sell at Academy. So I think Academy has like shirts only, and I wanted more stuff.
What are they getting for a championship hat now? Is it still like $40? I haven't bought one clearly.
Yeah,
since,
around there.
Man, God, that's a feeling I miss so much. Going to buy the championship gear like the day after,
waiting in line outside the door, hoping to still have your size left.
So the coolest time was 2017. I'm sorry, 2007 when the Spurs won. I'd never had the chance to kind of enjoy it because I was working all the time. And that night, because I think it was like 4-1 that series against the Cavs in 2007.
Yes.
So it was a pretty foregone conclusion. so the merch was already like in house. So I was working at WAI in San Antonio downtown, and before the game was over, the Spurs like dropped off championship merch. I was like, oh, and which is never like, it's always like weird superstitious things, but I got my shit free that night.
That's awesome.
It was the best. I've got.
Were they just like wanting you to show it on air and stuff, or
yeah,
just yeah,
but they brought a bunch of it.
Nice.
So those of us that were there, we partook.
Very cool.
I mean, that's what it was for. It was to.
I mean, imagine if there was an epic comeback, you would have some priceless swag on your hands.
I did see at one point. This is before they just like swapped out the patch.
Mm-hmm.
It's really kind of not as fun anymore, unless you got like a back-to-back going or something.
Right, but they still produce it all.
Right. Well, if it goes to a certain amount of games, but they just like if you look at the hat, like it just like the only thing that's different is the patch, like the logo. This is before that. This is, when it's clearly meant to be a thing. But at some point, I remember seeing a 2013 Spurs championship hat. Like it made it out into the wild somewhere, like on eBay, which is sad. But anyway,
good times.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you and your Houston Astros, Cody.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see all that swag you got.
It'll be coming.
Are you gonna? So you're getting a hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
I always find it like I would always get the shirt, right? But I'd find it had like a shelf life for me to wear it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be the same thing for you with a hoodie? Like, is it going to be retired at some point?
I don't think so. I imagine I would wear it less, but I don't think I'd hang it up in the rafters or anything. I think it's
right.
I think I would still wear it. I mean, I feel like it has like at least like a 2 to 3 year shelf life.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
You can eat off of a championship for a good couple of years.
Oh, I always said you can't complain for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got a 5-year window, and then now you can be like, oh, this fucking Spurs. Anyway, I did order one of those new the new City Edition jerseys. So for the first time ever, like I told you, like a dipshit with my own name on it.
I really hope you put your first name on the back and not your last.
Did I put the office, like from Dwight?
Yeah.
That was my favorite. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead. Anything else before we move on? Sorry.
No, we're good.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
This week we have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Stop! Right there! Who are you? And how did you get in here?
This place is amazing. The air is pristine. And the water. My mother told stories about a place like this. A protected land with people that never have to leave. That never have to change who they were. What reason do you have to reveal your secret to the world?
I am not a woman who enjoys repeating herself. Who are you?
I have many names. My people call me Khan. But my enemies call me Namor.
This is, of course, the sequel to the 2018 Marvel Cinematic Universe film Black Panther. Obviously, a very weighted film here following the death of Chadwick Boseman in 2020. A lot of speculation as to what exactly this movie was going to be about. But it's here, and it's more of an ensemble piece. You see there, obviously, new character Namor, who's been reimagined as a sort of Mesoamerican character, which wasn't. I don't know how familiar you are with Namor, the Submariner.
Not very.
He was just a white dude. Now they've changed it up. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Cody, tell us about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever and what you thought of it.
Sure. I think one of the big things, as you mentioned, that was on everyone's mind was how are they going to, what are they going to do with this franchise? Obviously, Black Panther was a huge hit, a huge success. And then, Chadwick Boseman's death came from nowhere. No one really knew about it, and then the big question became like, well, what do you do with this franchise that's been launched? And what do you do with the character? Do you recast it? Do you move forward without him? Obviously also just kind of like the story of, do they address it? I think everyone coming in knew that you had to at some point, and like you couldn't just go have it be unaddressed. But that was the first thing to see, was that I was interested in seeing, was like, what do you do in terms of like reflecting the real life tragedy that happened and put it into this narrative. And I do think that they really kind of dive into it with kind of like the prologue of the movie, and like kind of like the intro and kind of like settling into everything, kind of establishing that, yes, in the the cinematic world, the character of T'Challa does die. How dare you?
Sorry, I kicked you out. Sorry.
Anyway, the character of T'Challa does die, and they do address that and kind of have this like nation of mourning kind of idea. And then also the idea is that the Black Panther mantle kind of goes unclaimed. There is no Black Panther in Wakanda. And then from there, it feels like you and I were talking about this a little bit, but it kind of feels like a lot of this stuff probably was there to some degree to begin with, because it kind of goes into sort of this storyline of there's like a threat that Wakanda has all the vibranium, and the United Nations, or whatever the analog is in the movie.
I think it's just the UN. Yeah.
Okay. Is concerned that only like one country has all of the resources, and then what it comes out is that there's some more vibranium found in this kind of like underwater, what would you call it? City, I guess.
Well, I mean, I guess the analog for that is Atlantis.
Atlantis, yeah. And then it introduces Namor and kind of like his people, and I think that the movie starts off really strong. I actually think the first act of this movie is really, really good. You get two fantastic action sequences. One is the scene that happens on a boat, where we first get kind of introduced to Namor and his army, which I think honestly is like one of the coolest action sequences Marvel has ever done. I think that whole sequence is really, really neat. Especially when you start getting a hint of like their powers and like what they can do with sound and stuff like that. That scene is really cool. And then there's the introduction in the first act too of the character that ends up being Ironheart. Riri, what's her last? I can't remember the last name.
Riri Williams.
Riri Williams.
Dominique Thorne is the actress's name, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I like the intro of it. And I think that there's like a chase scene that happens in that first act that's also very, very well done. And I like the introduction of that character, and I'm curious to see where they go with it. Not that it adds a whole lot to the narrative as a whole, but I
don't think it really adds anything.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And then we start getting like into the depth of the kind of middle act, which is Shuri, the T'Challa's sister, kind of gets taken by these people, the sea people. I don't know what else to call them.
The Talokan, I believe.
Yeah, and we spend a lot of time underwater, and the this middle chunk of the movie features like this really long sequence underwater of like touring, the city, and Shuri is in like this like comical underwater spacesuit thing, and it's by this time, like the middle of the movie, where I really started feeling the fatigue, and I really started checking out on a lot of what the plot line was, especially because the movie starts off being centered around the grief that is experienced as a result of losing the character. And then like it's just sort of like peppered once or twice, and then it's like pointed at the end. And I've been seeing a lot of people talk a little bit about this, this sort of like being a meditation on grief or exploring grief. and it's really hard for me to agree with that in any significant way. I mean, yes, there are some moments, some powerful moments of confronting it and talking about it and seeing some of the actors probably pull from real life to get their performances out of it. But I don't think that it is a deep meditation on grief or like a super in-depth tribute to him either. I think it's because like the middle chunk and then like the beginning and the setup of the third act is rooted in like just like basic comic book movie stuff, and like again there's this whole third act thing about Shuri being like driven by anger or rage to out of grief, which again is a good context piece on grief itself, but about like the real life tragedy, don't know that point really hits very much. As far as the cast goes, I mean, I think and maybe to its detriment, there's a lot of really great supporting roles in here, and nobody really floats to the surface. I actually think that Angela Bassett is like really great in the small amount of time she gets, like really adding a lot of depth and gravitas to that role, and kind of wouldn't have minded to see her a little bit more. And I think, there's a lot of time spent with Shuri, and I think that Lupita Nyong'o's character is like the more interesting character of those two.
She doesn't show up until about halfway through the movie.
Yeah, and I think the movie becomes better at that point for it. But I just feel like there's a lot of like a lot of side characters, side plots, side quests, and nothing really like stands out. And nothing is really magnetic about it, about like either the story or the or like the characters. And again, like you get a pretty good villain with Namor, and I think that a fine performance as well, and I think I just don't know that that story really connects very much either, especially, and we get like a ton of exposition with his character, and again that stuff just really didn't connect with me. And then like I think the worst of the movie is like we get some appearances from Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Martin Freeman, and basically you could have cut every second of screen time out for both of them, and I think the movie would have been the exact same. So it's a mixed bag for me, because I do think that the first act is fantastic. I think the second act drags, and I think the third act is okay. And so what I end up thinking about the movie as a whole is that it's okay. It definitely is not as good as the first. It definitely is missing something magnetic behind it. I feel it's so long. Like it's every bit of that 2 hours and 40 whatever minutes it is.
2 hours and 41 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Second longest Marvel film after Endgame.
Yeah. Which is crazy. I mean, there's so much flab in the middle of that movie that I think you could cut down on. But I think that it's just an inferior to the first movie, and that's basically it.
Yeah, I agree with most of this. I think it gets started strong. I do think to go to the filmmaking aspect of it. This movie is in the unenviable position, clearly, of having, you have the breakout performance from Chadwick Boseman, an iconic role at this point. Four movies in, this movie, the first film, huge hit, becomes nominated for an Oscar, the first Marvel film to be nominated for Best Picture, I should say. And then he dies. Clearly, it's a huge emotional issue, because this is a man who was 43 or something and dies of colon cancer. Huge impact. I mean, you and I were shocked by it. I can't imagine what the filmmakers and the cast and everybody, Ryan Coogler and everybody down. That said, a decision was made to not recast the role. Watching the movie, watching what this became, I don't know that that's the right decision for the franchise. It's like you said. I don't think the movie's a huge meditation on grief. There is a lot of it, kind of bubbling to the surface, and I think it's to the detriment of the Shuri character, who was kind of a fun character in the first film. And again, it's hard to do this in a comic book movie because none of this ever really has any weight until it does. Because if you think about it, like, oh, well, the Black Panther character died for 5 years in Infinity War. Like, what happened there? And characters come back to life all the time. Like, just for example, just this past Thor, Love and Thunder ends with a scene in Valhalla where, oh, everybody's still alive, sort of. So, to put the huge weight of an actor's death so prominently in this film, I mean, I know that at the time of the decision, it was the right choice to make. I don't know that for the movie to feel as though as though it was a complete movie. I don't know that was the right choice. I mean, I know that's an unpopular opinion, but this is a movie full of supporting characters, and there's no, like you said, there's no magnetic center for them to attach to, and I think it really suffers for it. Like, it feels, and I mentioned this to you flippantly, it feels like The Office after Steve Carell left. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just a bunch of people, they're just trying out a bunch of supporting characters to see if it fits. And I think the most natural and charismatic of the characters get sort of sidelined. That being Lupita Nyong'o, first and foremost, is when she shows up, the movie instantly elevates. Yeah. Denai Giri's Okoye, I forget how to say that, sorry, gets sort of stripped of her title. And then Winston Duke shows up every now and then to be like the comic relief, like, interesting guy. But, this film is really Shuri focused, and she's not, at least as written, it's a bummer. Like, it seems like a bummer the entire time. Angela Bassett's great. I think kind of as expected. But her arc gets cut shorter than you might expect at some point.
Yeah.
So
it's weird too, because like, I think that Shuri is, like, for me at least, was like the breakout character of the first Black Panther. Right. But like, put in that very specific role of being kind of the, the prodding, sarcastic younger sister character. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody thought that. But this character as written, dealing with the grief, and then later with a revenge plot that I feel is a little half-baked. Mm-hmm. Man, it just doesn't come together for me. And I'm really upset that it doesn't, because I really liked the first Black Panther. And, I feel like this was, like you said, kind of rewritten halfway around Chadwick Boseman's death, and all the Namor stuff was left in kind of untouched. And then we're back to the fucking table setting. Riri Williams, the character of Riri Williams, Ironheart, has a Disney Plus show coming next year. So this movie picks her up, plays with her a little bit, and then puts her on a shelf mostly for the movie, for the duration of the film. Promising that she'll be, headlining a show next year, which is great, but I wish it would have worked her in better to the story. Yeah. Whatever. I don't know. I liked Martin Freeman in the first one. I generally like Martin Freeman. He is given fuck all to do in this movie, and we get a heavy dose of Julia Dreyfus's Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, who's popped up here and there in Marvel TV shows and movies in the past year. Again, more table setting for, I guess, the Defenders. Is that what it is? Or no, the Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts. I was surprised old-ass Harrison Ford didn't show up for half a second.
Man, I don't know. It's just I just feel like there's a scene, and I mentioned it specifically to you. There's a scene in the third act that reminds you of what sort of magnetism is missing from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. I get every decision that was made regarding Chadwick Boseman. I don't think the movie is better for it. And I think a lot of people are still feeling that grief, and I understand that. Like you said, a lot of people talk about this movie review-wise being a meditation on grief. I don't see that either. But I think there's like this public coping still happening with Chadwick Boseman's death, and I understand it. You look at this movie in 5 years, what is it going to be?
Right.
Is it going to be just another installment of this movie that is kind of not really complete? Maybe that sounds harsh, but like it's just it's an effort to deal with the tragedy of his death in real life through the film, which in 5 years' time, plot wise, is that going to make sense? 5 years' time when they bring back when Robert Downey Jr. returns as Tony Stark,
right?
At what point is this death going to feel like something that was dramatically earned and dramatically relevant, other than the fact that
you froze. Oh boy.
There we go. Hey.
Hey.
I'm back. Good old internet. So I just talked about it, and it's clearly not the same scale.
Mm-hmm.
But William Hurt died, and they've recast the role with Harrison Ford because they wanted the character to continue of William Thunderbolt Ross. So, it's a weird thing. It's a very weird thing. It reminds me of, I was thinking about this driving home the other day. Do you remember Rogue One was released, and it has the CGI Carrie Fisher at the very, very end?
Yes.
And literally a week later, she died.
Mm-hmm.
And the world was terrified that was going to happen with Carrie Fisher in what became The Rise of Skywalker. Mm-hmm. Like immediately, Disney and Lucasfilm had to answer for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they wanted to just, and understandably, avoid any sort of disrespect to the real man that was behind the role. And I mean, I'm not clear that that's the right decision ever. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know. It's just
it's an impossible call to make, and I think that I get, I get why the decision that they made was the one that they did. Now, again, you could argue, was it the right one or wrong one, and they could probably argue back that, well, it doesn't matter. It was the one we did. So
sure.
But I mean, again, to put this movie just in a vacuum on the backs of supporting characters who don't really have, to the degree that I guess either they're written or to the degree that they're constructed, just don't have that kind of ability to carry a movie.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, if you think about every other movie in this universe, it has, at least one like gravitational character that is like the center of everything. Unless it's like a team up movie, which has like all of those characters combined, which is
well, it takes me back to the Eternals last year,
mm-hmm.
which was,
the low water mark.
The low water mark for sure. But it had a bunch of supporting characters and then like a couple that were supposed to be kind of elevated that never really caught on. Mm-hmm. Here we've got people that started out as supporting characters and did great as supporting characters, elevating them to leads. I don't know. I mean, however Letitia Wright was written this time, whatever, and whether that's meant to be indicative of her grief, the character's grief, whatever. It's just it's not there anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, you do get some elements too of like, and again, if you want to search for themes, they're there. I mean, like if you want to take this, like Letitia Wright now becomes the big sibling with Riri, and like that whole story is there. But again, does that really honor or attribute the character or the man, or is that just kind of like a way to introduce that Ironheart character?
Yeah, I mean that's really what it feels like more than anything. Like this doesn't didn't feel like some sort of like changing of the guard, so to speak. It felt more like, oh well, this character is also a sarcastic young female scientist. I don't know. It as important as Black Panther character and the film became to people. And it's true. I mean, huge moment for representation, huge moment for like kind of probably the strongest singular vision in the Marvel MCU at that time. I think that didn't feel like it was off an assembly line. For it to be where it's at now feels a little. Starting over. Lost you again. I'm back. There we go. Good job. I don't know what's wrong with the internet today, but I don't know. Just a lot of weight on this movie's shoulders. I don't feel personally like it. Like I feel like there was some self-inflicted, like this movie wanted to wear its grief on its sleeve, and I 100% understand. I think the movie, as a film, suffers a little bit for it because, again, what's this going to be in 5 years?
Right.
Where are we going to be at with this? Right now it's probably what a lot of people needed. They're publicly and processing still the death of Chadwick Boseman. Does it honor his legacy? Yeah. Would it have honored his legacy in it still if you recast the role? I mean, I think so. There was never going away. This idea that he was this character and that set the tone for this is never going away. But yeah, God, at least it's not. Oh man, just you reminded me of the Oscar thing. That was so sad. That's so a mess. That's so fucked up.
Yeah,
Still.
that was.
Anyway, what's your grade for Wakanda Forever, Cody?
Yeah, I think it's like mid to low pack Marvel stuff. I had talked about whatever the last Marvel movie was.
Thor.
Yeah,
Love
Thor. That like Marvel fatigue might be setting in, and this did not do anything to kind of like squash that Marvel fatigue. I will give it a B-. I think that I would say it's recommendable just based on like a super, like, again, I would put that first act up with most anything I've seen from Marvel. I really, really liked it. But ultimately it's only like a third of the movie, and the rest of it, the movie can't float by on just having a really great third act and like some really good action sequences later. But yeah, I think I wish it would have been cut down, maybe just like have that first act be half of the movie and shave off some other stuff. But as it stands right now, a B-.
Yeah, I mentioned Tena Huerta, who plays Namor. Again, the kind of a Central American spin on the character, which never had before. But he's the first mutant officially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
The first time it's said.
Yeah. So get ready for X-Men, more table setting. But yeah, I got to go with a C+. It disappoints me, but man, it just doesn't feel like it's all together for me. Like you mentioned, the first act being pretty tight at some points, but man, it's just, I don't know. This movie kind of, I didn't have fun, and ultimately that's kind of what I'm looking for. Like I to process the idea that Chadwick Boseman's dead. Like I said, a lot of people need that, but man, at the end of the day, I don't think the movie stands on its own. But anyway, that's out in the world now and making tons of money. So, that's gonna do it for this week. Next week, Cody, a bit of a special one. With Glass Onion.
That's actually going to be the following week.
Is it the following week? It's Thanksgiving week. Shit, I thought that was already this week. Crap.
Nope. You got ahead of yourself. We're seeing it this week.
That's
but
right.
We can't talk about it yet.
Until next week. Yeah.
But there are a couple of movies I would like to cover next week.
Okay.
One of them I've seen. I saw at Fantastic Fest, and it was maybe my favorite movie from the festival, which was The Menu.
Oh, yes. That's actually the same exact time as my Glass Onion screening, by the way, which is a real pain in my ass.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, the Menu is a movie with Ralph Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Nicholas Hoult. Directed, and it's directed by a guy who directs a lot of the episodes of Succession, which you have not seen, which you should.
I know.
And it has kind of like a similar feel. So I actually really liked it. I'm interested to hear what you think. And then the other movie that opens wide is She Said, which is the Harvey Weinstein investigative journalism movie, starring Carey Mulligan. I think. Why am I blanking on the actress's name? Oh, Zoe Kazan.
Zoe Kazan, yeah. Kazan, yeah.
And they're like the two leads, and then some really good sort of supporting cast in there as well. And it's it kind of like, if you watch the trailers, it looks a lot like Spotlight, a movie that was my favorite movie of that year, and it's one of those ones where, kind of a strip from the headlines, very relevant movie right now. So I'm actually haven't seen that one yet, but really looking forward to it.
Yeah. It does. I had no idea it was coming out. So
yeah, and it's one of those ones. It's not like an analog for Harvey Weinstein. It is about Harvey.
Yeah,
Weinstein,
I'm looking up the cast. Yeah.
mentioned by name.
Yeah. All right. If you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. Find us on Twitter at CineSnob, Facebook CineSnob Critic, CineSnobNet. Yeah. Anything else, Cody? Oh, you still doing the ramble? I don't know. You were in New York.
It's still out there. I haven't been on lately. It's been a little bit tough scheduling wise, but ramble Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think we're good.
Be sure to shop at Walmart or walmart.com. On that note, I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.